Start the meeting today, Education, Environment, Sustainability Committee meeting, July 12, 2023. Can I have a roll call?
And just as a reminder to all who are in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Simon.
Here.
Ms. Stevens.
Present.
Jones.
Here.
Mr. Schrein.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Present.
There is a quorum. No, Madam Chair, no one is signed in.
We have minutes from June 14th. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So move. Second.
Second by Council President. All in favor?
Aye.
We have a couple matters referred to committee, well, several.
bunch.
Yep. So we have, the first item is 2023-0166. Can that be read for the record?
Resolution number 2023-0166, awarding a total sum not to exceed $106,000 to Merrick House for the Youth Development and Leadership Program from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
And is someone here to speak to that? Welcome. Come. Thank you. Green light on.
Green light. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Harriet Hadley. I'm the Executive Director of Merrick House.
My name is Sharon Grant Burton. I'm an educational consultant.
Thank you. Can you talk first about the program, the leadership program, the youth?
The youth leadership. Currently, Merrick House has just gone through a strategic plan, and we had a beginning of a evaluation process to see where our programs actually were and how effective they were. During this time, we noticed and we understand that we need to have more outcomes and measures when it comes to putting a program on that is effective for the students that we serve within our community. I brought Ms. Burton on today to talk about a little bit about the program that we are now designing and the timeline to be set for this new program. It's going to be starting in September with the new school year.
Okay, thank you. Can you first tell us what Merrick House is and does?
Merrick House has been in existence for since 1919. It started out as a settlement house. It's one of many settlement houses around Cleveland. They used to primarily serve immigrants that were first coming into the Cleveland area. Since then, Merrick House has provided services to the community. It's changed in a bit. We have a Moms First program that helps mothers with infant mortality and also help them through the transition of pregnancy. We have an early education program that we provides services and daycare for students, for kids from 6 to 4 years old. We get them ready. We are a 5-star agency. We also have a youth component where we help kids with after-school programming, and we also run summer programming as well throughout the year. And we have a GED program that we're going to ramp back up. We wanted to do a community assessment to see where the need was because we're located on the west side and we provide services to the west side community.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to speak to the program focus this year for Merrick House to begin in September. The focus is for after-school tutoring and enrichment services to focus on the social, emotional, and learning. Also to focus on the STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math for our students. In addition to the leadership program and the career development for high school students in grades 9 through 12. And all of the programs are curriculum-based. They are also embedded assessments along with adhering to the Ohio State standards. And the reason why we're focusing on the literacy first is because it has been proven in the state of Ohio that our third grade students are not currently meeting the third grade reading guarantee. It has not yet been approved if that state test will continue on. However, if it does, even if it doesn't, at the third grade level, we want all students to be reading at or beyond grade level. So one of our focuses is going to heavily be on that second and third grade student, making sure they understand phonemic awareness, making sure they know how to decode, how to blend, and eventually how to read with understanding and how to comprehend so that they will be better readers, writers, and critical thinkers. Our social emotional learning component, as we all know, many of our students have experienced not just the trauma from the pandemic, but just trauma within their own environment. So we're also partnering with some agencies to address those social emotional learning needs along with the trauma informed. And that's what our focus is going to be for this upcoming school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Madam Chair,
Council President?
thank you. I just want to focus in and dig a little deeper into that social emotional component. When you mentioned the pandemic, that was certainly a difficult time for everyone, and we talked about social distancing, but we were really physically distancing ourselves when really we needed to strengthen that social interaction through those difficult times. So I was curious as to what you actually did during that pandemic to impact, I believe, the youth in particular. Did you do anything to try to at least maintain that connection, social connection with the youth?
Yes, that's where the after-school program at the Merrick House comes in at, along with their summer program. So what we decided to do is bring the kids that qualified to come into the program from the various areas within the Cleveland area and actually teach them the 5 components of social emotional learning, that self-awareness, that decision-making process, that self-respect, and how to respect others and how to interact with a diverse group of students. And so with that being said, we also gave them the opportunity to express themselves through art therapy and to show themselves what can be when we all come together as one. And it starts with our children, and that the kids can also take back home. And this program also invites parents and guardians into our fold as well. And we're going to continue with that with the resources provided here by this body.
But what is your address? You're on the west side, you said?
1050 Starkweather Avenue.
Stark River?
Starkweather,
Starkweather.
across the street from Lincoln Park.
Oh, gotcha. I know where you are. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any, Councilman Tron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How many students do you service through Merrick?
In the course of a year,
Yeah, you said you were going to be numbers based, so we'll go to your numbers and see what.
throughout the entire year, we service probably about 250 students that come through on a regular basis. Because we
Okay.
have 6 elementary schools that surround our campus, and they come after school.
One of the things that this body gets a chance to, and they get to hear good programs like yours, but they all seem to be in that same range of size. Is there any opportunity for us to come together and to do some consolidations where we get more efficiency or effectiveness, but theoretically? Maybe not. Maybe you don't necessarily get it by consolidate, but you see it being done with other bodies here in town, and I just think that the social services maybe is a place that we could also be asking those same questions.
Yes, that's a great question. I think it's actually very possible, seeing is that the students are coming from CMSD and charter schools and private schools within the area. Along with that, we would have to increase our staff. So that means we need more after-school teachers, more after-school college students, and volunteers, along with the space. So we have to have the space as well.
Are there programs similar to yours, though, that are similar in size that would make some in proximity to where you are that would make some consolidations plausible?
I'm not for sure, because I will say that there are some CMSD schools that have an after-school program. I don't know exactly how many students can be serviced at that after-school program with the number of volunteers and or paid staff that they have. I know after-school tutoring in public ed, it does require an additional staff member. It requires also college students in addition with additional security. So that would be something that we can look into with the surrounding schools.
It just seems to me that would make some sense that if we found we could get some more efficiency out of those same dollars, could we do that, because we would have a bigger program, more consolidation going on of that nature. So I asked the question. I don't know. I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I don't have the answer either. We were thinking about that as we were putting this together. But I will say that there are a lot of dollars that have been allocated for some other programs that some of our CMSD schools and other schools have taken advantage of, and they are limited in size. So we have to look at that as well.
Okay, thank you.
And also currently, we are working with the schools, collaborating with them because we take their overflow from their programs. So that collaboration is there.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I was just going to make a point to Jack. In that neighborhood, the closest, and it's not really close when you talk about children walking after school, would be the Clark Recreation Center. So that's not really close. So in your terms of proximity, that's the only thing that, other than the school itself, is the only thing. So I don't think it would be feasible to have a collaboration in terms of.
Sometimes it's the overhead and the administration side that you can collaborate as far as how you buy supplies and all those kind of things that you could get some efficiency of from that standpoint. Was just my thought. I mean, we've seen it done with GCP where they becomes consolidated of a bunch of groups that were out there, and could we do the same thing with it? And whether it turns out to be a good result, sometimes maybe it's not, one way or the other. Thank you.
That's okay, Council President Jones.
When you mentioned that you were collaborating with CMSD, it made me think about Say Yes to Cleveland and the social emotional work that they're looking to do this coming school year, CMSD school system wide. Is that that initiative something you're partnering with, or are you familiar with that?
Yes, we are familiar with that. And again, they have a certain capacity. So those kids, the overflow, we have a partnership that we will take those children as well.
Overflow from the Say Yes is actually what you start to address.
Because they're able to walk to our campus. It's a short walk before they go home in their community. So it's in a close proximity. And also, even with our fourth, because they have pre-K now. So they only have 20 slots for pre-K. So we also have a relationship and a partnership with them to take their overflow from that program as well.
Okay.
And one thing that I would like to say is that some of the same programs that the students see in their everyday classroom will be some of the same types of programs that they'll see at Merrick House After School Program and in our summer program. Because when you start looking at data, you want to compare apples and apples. So we don't want to give the kids something new and different versus what they're doing in school. We want to collaborate and bring it all under one roof. Because I was an after-school teacher at one time, and I can guarantee you that what we taught here and when they went over there, if it was not the same, kids will be confused as to which one is which way. So if you have fidelity in teaching across the board, you will see that your numbers improve, and you will see student achievement rise.
When you said it, it made me, my mother was a fourth grade teacher. And I just remember telling her she wasn't teaching me multiplication the way my teacher was teaching it. That's not the way they taught me in school, Mom. So I guess you got to make that all jive.
Yes,
there.
yes, especially in the 21st century student, yes.
Yeah, you took me back there. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? So we do read these 3 times, these ARPA items. So this will be read on the second reading at the next council meeting, and then at the third reading will be at the final council meeting of the summer. So does someone want to make a motion to move this forward?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So are you going to be here for the next item as well?
Yes.
Okay, so can we have that read, Madam Clerk?
Resolution number 2023-0167, awarding a total sum not to exceed $49,000 to Merrick House for capital improvements to the Merrick House Community Center from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Okay.
Would you like me to repeat my name again?
This is for a capital project?
Yes.
So you want to elaborate on that?
Okay, our building currently is about 70 years old. We have a lot of repairs that have been put to the side due to our constraints in fundraising. Not fundraising, but just getting grants for operational costs. We need much needed repairs. Our gym was just redone by Mobile One. They came and redid our entire gym. And we also got a new computer lab, which is on our loft from Microsoft. Right now, we don't have proper ventilation in the gym. So on those 80-degree days, 90-degree days, it's very hot in there, and it's very hard for the students. So that's why we have the portable evaporation cooler systems for our students, so they can remain cool as they're learning, because that has been a big problem. We also have put in here for security cameras. About 6 months ago, we had a parent come in because we have our center opens up at 6:30 in the morning. Someone walked in right behind her, okay? And this person was on drugs, very disoriented. We had to call the police. But we were trying to get a security system in there so we can be able to protect our children, okay? That's on looking for additional funding to actually lock the building down. During our strategic plan, and we're going to go into a capital campaign just for the ECE program to possibly build a new area for our young kids that are between 6 weeks to 4 years old. So that's been a big problem that we have, because around Tremont area and Lincoln Park, there's a lot of homeless people there. So that's become a problem that I've been working with the police with. They came into the building to do a security check to see where our weak points were, and this was one of their recommendations for us to get cameras throughout the building. Our electrical panels have knob and tube, and it's pretty bad. And our electrical panels that are in the gym, we have 5 total that we need to desperately get repaired. I put this grant in last year of 2022, and it's like I'm hanging on with a thread to keep everything operational because a lot of the circuits are bad. It's not, hopefully it won't catch on fire or anything like that, but it's not up to code. So I made a request for that and just the upgrading of our wiring within the building. Because again, the building is over 70 years old.
Any questions? Councilman Tron?
Oh, you're going to be able to get all that done for this amount of money?
No, I have I'm going after additional
Oh,
funding.
okay, so this is only a part of a capital stack?
Yes.
Okay, and what is the total stack then? Because television, cameras, doing that, those boards. Yeah.
This right here is our immediate need,
Okay.
which I went and got quotes for. But right now, we're getting ready, we're doing a feasibility study for the entire building to see what that's going to cost, to do a lot more repairs that's needed. So right now, we're at $49,000. No, we're over, no, I'm sorry. I believe it's about $150,000 total. So we're looking for additional funding for this project. But these are our immediate needs that we need right now.
Okay, but when you start, if you do 50,000 for a $150,000 project, does it mean that we're not really going to get the project done? Or is it that what you're going to get done for the $50,000 is going to be functional to the extent where these are actual standalone elements? I mean, you can live without the cameras, though it's not a good thing with kids. You should have cameras. You can't live without the electricity being correct in the building.
No, these are standalone that we need to get done right away. There's an urgency for these repairs that we need to get done.
Okay, I just, whenever you see a capital project, and if it's underfunded, it sometimes means that you don't really get anything done if you don't get it all done.
No,
whatever your needs
these are earmarked. We've had electricians come into the building. We've had construction. We've had architects come into the building. And these are necessary things that we need right away.
No, I didn't mean to say they weren't necessary. I just, are you going to be able to get enough done that will be effective?
Yes.
Or is it going to be a half-baked job? In other words,
No,
my
yes.
grandmother used to use that phrase. I'm not sure what it ever meant, but
No.
is the $50,000 going to get your electrical panels done?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion to move this forward?
So move?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. So.
Thank you.
Good luck. So you don't have to come back in person for the second or third reading unless you want to.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next item, Madam Clerk.
Resolution number 2023-0169, awarding a total sum not to exceed $75,000 to the Catholic Charities Job and Career Training Center for the Workforce Development Career Pathways Project from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Who's here to speak?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Councilwoman Simon, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Autumn Winfield, and I'm the Director of Job and Career Training Services for Catholic Charities. Job and Career Training Services has been around for over 30 years, providing workforce services on the east side of Cleveland. In that program, we offer a 6-week job readiness training, computer training, community health worker training, as well as conducting job fairs throughout the city, employer recruitment, and individual training when it comes to residential assistance training as well. As I said, we have been on the east side for over 30 years, but we recently moved to the west side. And we're on West 28th Street, right down the block from the West Side Market. And we're really excited about being over in this new location because we believe it will help us to cast a wider net to more employers and job seekers in the surrounding neighborhoods. We are requesting funding to undergo a strategic development plan that will allow us to navigate the new landscape and provide a foundation for our workforce services program. The planning process will result in a 5-year strategy and 10-year vision for job and career training services. We would be asking to hire an experienced consultant to lead an inclusive process to develop this plan. Unlike many requests for one-time funding, the county would be investing in the future of job and career training services by providing dollars to position us to meet the workforce needs of high-demand sectors of the regional economy and diversify the economy through growth and support of the following industry clusters with high growth potential: health services, manufacturing, clean economy, information and community technologies, and constructions. I know you're aware that by 2025, there is an expectation of 123,000 new jobs coming into Cleveland. And I believe 85,000 of those jobs will be in healthcare. And there's a big boom when it comes to food manufacturing as well. The challenge that I think we're facing in Cleveland is that I believe 21% of the population is not trained and do not possess high school diplomas or certifications in order to get those jobs. We believe this strategic plan is going to help us to navigate, again, the landscape of our new location and prepare us to engage more stakeholders to help us to assist individuals with getting these certifications and credentials that they need in order to obtain these jobs. Any questions?
Thank you. Thanks so much. Questions from committee? Nothing. I guess I'll ask the follow-up kind of conceptually that Councilman Schron raised in the last discussion about consolidation and duplication of job training and workforce and how you fit into that constellation of providers.
Yeah. Well, again, not only does Catholic Charities provide job and career training services, but we have ancillary services that set us apart from other providers, I think. Although we do collaborate with other training providers because what we can provide maybe someone else can, and we would refer that job seeker to that particular provider. Catholic Charities kind of stands apart because we also offer those emergency assistance, food bags, and those other essential needs for individuals to be self-sufficient and to maintain those jobs as well.
Okay. No questions?
Madam Chair,
Council President?
you mentioned you're on West 25th, is that right?
West 28th.
On West 28th. So again, I'm trying to, as Councilwoman Simon said, the constellation of where you fit in the pipeline. You mentioned people with just a low graduation rate. Are you helping like with GEDs, or I'm not sure I fully grasp what the work that you do specifically.
Well, we do assist individuals with being prepared to obtain a job, and not only, to obtain it, but also to retain that position by offering those ancillary services. But we are located on West 28th, but we are going to have a satellite site on the east side at St. Martin de Porres Family Center. So when it comes to the GEDs and those other services, we do have partnerships with Seeds of Literacy and so forth to be able to refer individuals to that type of training.
How many individuals do you serve over a year?
Well, prior to the pandemic, we were serving close to 700 to 800 people a year. And since the pandemic, it's gone down to about 400 people a year that we serve.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions? Okay. Can I have a motion to move this forward?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this will be read 2 more times, and then it will pass, hopefully, on 3.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item.
Resolution number 2023-0173, awarding a total sum not to exceed $25,000 to the Olivet Housing and Community Development Corporation for the NECCESS initiative and workforce development training and education from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Good afternoon.
Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Dr. Daisy Alford Smith, and I have the pleasure of having with me 2 of my colleagues as well, Adrian McDaniel, who is the administrative coordinator of the Olivet Housing and Community Development Corporation, and also Stephen Williams, who is the outreach coordinator. We make up the team that is there. I believe we have passed out a PowerPoint for you, so I think that it does respond to some of the questions that you might have. However, I think it's also important for me to attempt to highlight some of those things as well. First, the Olivet Housing and Community Development Corporation was essentially created in 1985. It's a 501c3 that was created under the direction and leadership of Dr. Reverend Otis Moss Jr. at that time. And since then, the banner has been carried forth into the workforce development area by Reverend Jawanza Colvin, who is now the senior pastor at Olivet Institutional Baptist Church and also serves as the chairman of the board of the Olivet Housing and Community Development Corporation. The vision of our OHCDC, as we call it, is basically to enhance health education, economic stability, and holistic well-being of individuals and their community. And when you look at the statistics that we have, particularly in the area where we are housed, which is at the corner of 89th and Quincy, we're in a partnership with University Hospitals. The individuals in that area, 70% of them live at or below the poverty level. The household income is approximately $20,000 for a complete household, and only about 28% of those individuals have a GED or high school diploma. So it was within, during the time of the pandemic and a little bit prior to that, although we were providing health and education, information, outreach education in collaboration with university hospitals, we discovered that we learned that it wasn't a discovery, we learned that there was really a true need for us to do something about education, training, and outreach for individuals in that area as well as throughout the greater Cleveland area. And so thus, since that time, since 2018, we've been fortunate enough to be able to really sponsor several programs in collaboration with Cuyahoga Community College, university hospitals, the YWCA, the City Mission, just to name a few of them. And our first funding, our initial funding came approximately 5 years ago from Google. And it was at that time we were given the opportunity to train individuals in order for them to have what we called IT support certification training. It afforded persons the opportunity to enter into the IT industry with very, very little experience other than the training and certification that we were able to provide. I am happy to say that we have been extremely successful in doing that as well. When we partner with Tri-C, although there are several programs that we have worked with them, one in particular is Women in Transition, as well as the one that is called the Workforce. I always get this confused. It's the Supply Chain Logistics Technology and Warehouse Certification. And what it basically does is afford individuals the opportunity to receive 5 certifications in an area where they can work in a warehouse using a computer, whatever the types of material or information that they may need is there, even quality control, for an example. And we have partnered with the City Mission in that, along with Cuyahoga Community College. Those individuals, I'm pleased to say, of the total that we have provided in 2022 was over 1,800 persons. But it was within a variety of programs of those that I have mentioned to you. One that I'm extremely proud of is we have moved into the business arena. And we're going into our 2nd year of having a partnership with Oswald Insurance Company. And it's basically a 4-month program where we provide introductory classes for individuals in order for them to be able to move into the insurance area. We were fortunate enough to have 4 individuals at the early part of this year to graduate. And we just completed our 2nd graduation. In fact, there were 4 women in the first class, and then we ended up with 4 men in the 2nd class. And I'm pleased to share with you that they were all hired by Oswald. On the day of their graduation, they were extended an opportunity for an interview, and then those interviews have turned into employment for them. In addition to that, we also have a very strong digital skills program. We've received some funding, again, from Google for this. And the digital skills program is one, we call it Grow with Google. And what it does is we target and focus on justice-impacted individuals. People that are on parole, people are ready for it in pre-release, people on probation, any of those that have been impacted in some way within the justice system. And to date, of those individuals, we have served in the past year approximately 1,200 of those individuals as well. We continue to work very closely with the food bank. As I mentioned, CMHA, they assist us, and we work together with the outreach, community outreach, as well as the YWCA. We had one previous program, and we were only funded for 1 year through that, and that was with the Governor's Faith-Based Initiative. And at that particular time, we were requested to identify and work with TANF-eligible persons in order to expose them to various training and education opportunities. And within a year, we said that we would do approximately 200, and we were able to satisfy that. Unfortunately, we only received the funding for 1 year. So I think that when you look at the funding, we've had some smaller funding from PNC, First Energy, the Cleveland Foundation, Cuyahoga Community College, and as I mentioned before, Google, as well as the governor's office in the past. And so, in summary, the dollars that we're asking for today are those dollars that will assist us in continuing those programs that we're currently providing. Every one of our programs are, time limited. For instance, the Grow with Google, we have sources, I wouldn't say enough funding, but we have sources that will carry us through November of 2024. But out of that, that's $45,000 for the next year, to continue the total program. So although we talk about the various funding sources, they're very limited in what we do. And so we try to bring together a comprehensive strategic approach to providing these services and then utilize the funding from a variety of sources. I think that really concludes what I really have to say. I know you have a brochure in front of you, and you also have a PowerPoint, and I'm certainly open for any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much. Questions from committee?
Madam Chair?
Council President?
Well, Dr. Smith, thank you for that very thorough presentation and just the wealth of services that Olivet is providing. I was just curious, are you also a member of the church as well?
I am,
Okay,
since 1994.
1994, all right. Yeah, I'm really excited to hear about the work. As I looked at the picture, are you operating out of that, I'm calling it the medical center, Olivet Medical, is that where you operate out of?
Well, it's the Otis Moss Jr. University Hospital Medical Center. And it was a partnership that was created with the former CEO of UH, which was Farrah Walters, and Reverend Moss. And at that time, Farrah was interested in bringing health care to the community, particularly Fairfax community. And Reverend Moss wanted something in the community because the church is right across the street. And so the two entities combined forces, and we were able to build that building, and we now share that together.
Because I only live a few blocks from you, I've watched it and saw it from the outside and watched it be built years ago and the development and again, all the good work that you do.
Well, we'd love to have you come and visit us.
I have to do that, most definitely. As far as questions, I was curious, since it's a housing development corporation too, do you do any rehabbing of homes, reinvesting in?
We have never done any rehabbing of homes, but what we have done is purchase land and houses around that particular area with the thought in mind of determining the direction that we want to go, particularly in terms of housing. So we own quite a few of the lots that's adjacent and across the street from Karamu, you know, and then around the church as well, and then a couple near the medical centers also.
Protecting that housing stock in that area, I think is critical. And I could imagine with all that you're already doing, taking on that as well would be great too. Busy people do all of the work anyway.
Well, we'd love to do that, but just one step at a time. You
Yes,
know?
most certainly. All right, but that's all my questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman, Vice Chair.
So we have, good morning, Dr. Daisy.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
So the total project cost is $100,000?
I'm sorry?
The total project cost is
Yes.
$100,000?
Yes.
We're talking about just 25 from us?
Well, you're the one that said just. I didn't want to
okay.
say just, but
Okay. And Tri-C and Google are the balance of the funding sources?
at this
Am I reading
particular
this
time for
correctly?
this year,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. This was what you needed to get this off the ground? And you've heard my colleagues ask the numbers question.
Well, I thought I answered the numbers question, but in terms of what we did in 2022,
I
was
thought
over
I wrote down
1,800
1,800.
individuals.
And
And then
for
it's
next
broken
year?
down into a variety of areas. What we're looking for is any ability to be able to sustain what we're currently doing.
So next year, you're going to sustain that at 1,800, that's the goal?
Well, next year, our goal is a little bit higher than that, basically because of some of the commitments that we've made to Google. And in fact, we have indicated to them with the limited amount of resources that they provided that we would reach over 4,000 justice-impacted persons. Now, and all of those, mind you, are not individual contacts. You know, for instance, Stephen and Adrian go to various places. They go to the city mission and have a group. They go to the YWCA, you know, and have groups. Stephen just came from CMHA, you know, having a group there. So our goal is to do over the 4,500, but the finances for that does not necessarily cover that amount. In fact, I am a part-time person serving in this capacity.
That was my question. I got the 1,800 from last year. I didn't get the 4,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Do I have a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so thank you so much for your presentation and your work. And you heard this will go for a total of
Yes.
3 readings. Okay, thank you. All right, item 2023-0189.
Resolution number 2023-0189, awarding a total sum not to exceed $10,000 to the Dunnigan Foundation for the Comics at the Corner Literacy Lounge from the District 9 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Good afternoon.
Those are some tough acts to follow. Good afternoon. My name is Dawn Arrington. I represent Comics at the Corner. Dunnigan Foundation is my fiscal sponsor. Unfortunately, Mr. Dunnigan could not be here today. He had a very unexpected death in his family today. So I am presenting for Comics at the Corner. Comics at the Corner is a bit of a passion project of mine that I started in 2018. In November of 2017, while on family vacation, our family vehicle was broken into. And we were in Atlanta, Georgia. We get the car home, and we take it to a mechanic shop that's at the end of our street. Like, we can literally walk. By the way, I live in the Buckeye neighborhood, grew up in Mount Pleasant. And my husband returned home with the vehicle, and he said to me, "Hey, babe, the guy who fixed our car and was writing the receipt, he said to me, I would write the word window, but I don't know how to spell it." And we were heartbroken. Fast forward to 2018, the movie Black Panther comes out. There's a tremendous amount of pride. And there's a moment in the movie where 2 of the main characters are speaking, and there's in a South African dialect, and there's subtitles on the bottom of the screen. And I thought back to that mechanic. And I couldn't imagine being at this movie, being, proud, and you're seeing a character that looks like yourself on the screen and not being able to fully enjoy that moment in the movies. And that's where Comics at the Corner was born. Since starting Comics at the Corner, let me backtrack. I'm sorry. What is Comics at the Corner? What do? I distribute culturally relevant and representative comic books to residents in the Mount Pleasant, Buckeye Shaker, and Woodland Hills communities. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to stop you because do you know Council President Jones is
I
a
do.
huge.
Yes, I
should
just
probably
learned.
wait for him. Can somebody flag down Council President?
And I know Councilman Jones.
Does he know what you're doing?
Probably not.
Okay, he needs to hear this. Sorry, this is
You
not
want
a
me to start over?
decorum. Council President,
Council President.
you're being asked to hear this. So you might have to backtrack about
Okay.
what Comics at the Corner does.
Yes. Well, hello, Councilman Jones. It's so nice to see your face.
Pleasure seeing you again.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So I don't know how much you heard out there. None of it. All right. So I was recounting the story about how I started Comics at the Corner, or the inspiration behind Comics at the Corner. My work is directly related to advocating and putting culturally relevant and representative comics in the hands of the people in Mount Pleasant, Buckeye Shaker, and the Woodland Hills communities. I love comic books. I love comic book characters. It's how I learned how to read. On Sundays, I would lay the newspaper out because those were in color, so those were easier for me to follow. I would lay them out on the floor and just read them for hours. And why comics, you may ask? Because even if you can't read the words, you can still follow the visual cues. So since 2018, when I started Comics at the Corner, I've distributed thousands, like over 5,000 comics over the years to residents in the community. My goal is to address the literacy challenges that are pretty terrible in the community that I grew up in Mount Pleasant, which nearly 90% of the people in that community are struggling with reading, with literacy. They're not reading at a fourth grade reading level. And so the next iteration, so I literally drive around my neighborhood with my car and hand out comic books. I do them at pop-up events. One of my proudest moments is we do a trunk or treat. And by we, I mean us neighbors. We're not like a formalized group or anything. And we do a trunk or treat in the parking lot of Morningstar Baptist Church along Buckeye Road. And people come in and we distribute candy and we have games and we have a DJ and we have lots and lots of comics for people to choose from. So I'm promoting literacy, book choice, book ownership. And with the funds that would be awarded, if so, I would use that to purchase more comic books. I have a relationship with Carol and John's comic book shop. They're located in Cam's Corner. That's not near where any of us live. So again, it's about, creating relationships. He gives me a really good deal. I get the books at $1 each. But there's some other comic book publishing companies that I've been working with, and just what I've created now or launched now, I've had 2 of them this year, are literacy lounges. So think the school book fair, but on a community level. So we invite comic book artists, we invite publishers, and we are having comic book discussions and giving people access to more than just the comic books, but being able to actually talk about the characters and its community design. So what do you want to see in the sessions?
I just have one question. Where do you have this literacy lounge? Where's it held?
They're pop-ups. So the first one I had at Edwin's Bakery and Butcher Shop along Buckeye Road. And the second one I had at the Concerned Citizens Community Council in Ward 4 on Kinsman.
Thank you. I have questions. Start with Councilwoman Conwell.
I just wanted to make a comment about comics. It was one of the things that I used to love to do, and I think it some kind of way inspired me to want to continue my reading. I don't know if there's any data that correlates it.
There is. There's a little bit, yeah.
But I did do that, and then I moved on to reading the newspaper because I wanted to read the comics, the Sunday comics, and I just, fast forward to today, just looking at my my granddaughter, not the oldest one, but she's 9, and she's into this the dog cat, fat cat.
And the Wimpy Dog
Kid.
Man.
And it's really this book in a binder, just full of comics, but she has the whole series. She loves it. So just wondering if there was any data or anything.
There is, and there's some pedagogy that is developing, I would say, more so. But I will say that comic or graphic learning and reading, what we know is that people have different ways of actually processing information. And that is not always through the written word. But what we also know is that we're struggling with literacy right now. So we have to address this issue in a multitude of ways. And I always use the example of, if you've ever put anything together from IKEA, there are no words in the instructions. But someone like my son, he can follow the directions just as a picture. Or the gentleman who fixed our front window. He was able to do something that I could never do, even with words in the manual, because he was able to, be able to put things together visually. So there is data around that, unfortunately. I have like 30 articles that I have pulled up on my phone. I'm happy to send anybody any of the research that I've been doing. Some of this has been, like I said, I started out as a bit of a passion project because I just wanted to do something. And then Some of this is like I'm in love with the written word. I'm on the board of Literate Cleveland. My husband's an educator. It's just like in our family. It's in our bones.
Thank you. Okay, next question, Sharon, and then we'll move down.
Thank you. You strike me as an entrepreneur, which I love. First, I'll state that right off the top. We just funded, just not too recently, or very recently, the Dolly Parton books. And that to me tells me, or at least seems like you ought to be linked with them. You ought to find a way of getting your message to them, because they're not saying that that's the be-all and end-all. They're saying that it's just one of the tools to get the reading out there. And this just sounds to me as though being another tool. And so if the students can get the exposure to your idea of comic books and linking it directly to what they're then promoting as far as the little engine that could, is not that far different. It's the graphics that talk about the train. And so it just seems to me that you ought to take your message and see who Dolly Parton would love
I'm
to.
working on it, Councilman.
Oh, are you? That very.
I have partnered with Lake Erie Inc. I've partnered with, oh gosh, there's so many places and people that I've partnered with. Maybe you're familiar with Literacy in the Hood. I'm actually partnering with her recently. So, I mean, yes, little engine that could, because as you see, it's just kind of me here, and I do have like a husband and kids and cats and a dog and and a full-time job. And so trying to figure, and so honestly, some of the funds would be able to help me spread some of this out. I do have a website in development. If you want, you can check it out, comicsatthecorner.com. It's just an introductory page. It says it's being built. And like I started out with like a social media discussion group. But what I'm finding is that that's a bit of a challenge just to manage all of that as one person. So I'm looking to also, not hire somebody, but, be able to, there are people who want to volunteer and people who want to partner. And so just making sure that those partnerships are resourced properly, for sure.
Even your marketing phrase, comics on the corner, is a catchy phrase. I mean, you can't help but think that's a catchy phrase. Hope you stuck the word, the TMs behind the trademark.
Oh, yeah.
And you got the copyright with a date, and so you got all that.
And can I tell you where that came from? So, again, my fiscal sponsor, when he first heard the term comics at the corner, he was like, so you're going to have comics like stand at the corner and tell jokes? And I said, no. Comics at the corner denotes that I am meeting people where they are. Corner stores, barbershops, beauty salons, butcher shops and bakeries, where people are, because the reality is we do, and I want to partner, or I have partnered with Cleveland Public Library and Cleveland Reads, but the reality is that not everybody is going into those places, and we don't have bookstores. Like there's Loganberry along Larchmere, but there's not bookstores in Woodland Hills. There's not bookstores in Mount Pleasant. So
Not bookstores anywhere, sadly.
yeah,
We've lost
right?
so many of them out there.
We've lost so
sadly.
many of them, but there are a few independent ones, but they're not necessarily located in the places where there's a direct correlation with lack of bookstores and lack of access to books and book ownership, and where we're seeing people struggling with literacy.
Well, I just can't wait to see what you're doing in 10 years as this Comics on the Corners franchised across the entire country. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
So just before I'm sure there's comments or questions, when Dolly Parton, people came in talking about that program and sending the books to the children, I didn't understand why that was so important to get these books in the home. And the answer was the same. There's book deserts, and moms or families are too busy to even go out and search and go to libraries even because of this,
And
their
book
schedules.
ownership is income. I mean, there's about a bunch of comorbidities, if you want to call it that, right? But the reality is if I'm struggling to pay my bills, I am not going to prioritize a book.
Or time.
Or
Both.
time. And literacy, like poverty, like wealth, is an inheritance. Most people who are born into poverty or born into a family with struggling with literacy don't own books, and so they are doomed to repeat it.
Okay, good. I mean, this is, Councilwoman Stevens and I are avid readers, so this is right up.
So
Go ahead.
Madam
Go ahead.
Chair, with courtesy, I phrased it as I'm addicted to the written word.
Me too.
I literally have to have a book somewhere in my vicinity. I can make do with a magazine, but that's not as good as a book.
It's not.
I still like the actual old school books. I have them all over my home. And
Do you have
loaded
a
on-
pile of books that you haven't read yet?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
The best thing about modern technology is I can have 20 books on my phone as opposed to have to pack 20 books in my luggage for a vacation. We want to connect you with the Literacy Cooperative because that is who is the agent of the Dolly
Yes,
Parton.
Bob Papinetti. I was at
yes.
the dashboard
Okay.
earlier this year.
All right, so you have already made that connection?
Yes.
All right, then I don't have to make that phone call.
And also, do you attend the Annisfield Wolf Book Awards?
Yes.
Kind of, sorta. I'm not every year. Depends on what's being
I'm
honored.
every year as long as I am in town. I think I've missed it like once. And like I said, I'm on the board of Literary Cleveland. I've done work with Leah Lewis and the Great Lakes African American Writers Conference. Actually, I just connected her. I'm so excited. We're going to have a local comic book publisher speak at that conference this year because they did work with the Literacy Lounges with me. So I'm so excited. And I have a whole list of books that I haven't read yet, and I want to know if you read them now.
Okay, we'll talk after.
We'll
Okay,
talk.
So Council President, I'm sure has something to say, but there's a challenge in our office every year, the Annisfield Book Award. I challenge the staff to pick one book out of that selection, and some read, some don't. We read There. Did you?
Oh, that's
Okay.
the one I didn't buy.
Staff Boyle read that one, but each book award we're encouraged to read one, so good. Council President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I think this is just awesome, what you're doing, to be able just to follow your passion. And I'll just share with you, my story was kind of similar. I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, and the Super Friends cartoon that came on Saturday mornings, that's what I watched. And then my mom took me into a 7-Eleven one day, and I saw a Super Friends comic book on the turnstile. And I could barely read, and I'm 4, 5 years, but I wanted it. And like you said, it's the visual cues. And I learned to read too, just from reading comic books, and fell in love with them from there. And still have everyone I ever bought from that moment. And when you talked about the lounge, that's what we did. Our friends, we all had our comic books, and we
Right.
sat on the porch and we read them, we traded them, and crumbled them up at times.
And that's exactly what I hope happens there at the Literacy Lounges, that people feel that it's a brave space, a safe space where they can use it as a launch pad to, delve further into reading, reading for the sake of reading, right? I get the whole correlation between, economic outcomes and having better jobs and getting your GED, all of that. I'm down for all of that. However, I think that the people in my community deserve to just be entertained and just read for fun. And they're not doing that because they don't have those opportunities, and I'm trying to provide that for them.
How often do you have the pop-ups?
So I had my last Literacy Lounge was June 13th. I have an event with the Phoebe Foundation. They're doing a health wellness event on July 22nd. My husband apparently just got me another one at John Marshall High School. There's like a football camp, so he's like, we're going to go there. I said, okay. And that's July 29th. And then I have something at the West Side Market. There's going to be a pop-up around comic books and storytelling in September. I may take August off just because it's like back to school time, and actually there's a community event that's happening in August, on August 19th, called the Buckeye Thrives event. And so we're doing it in that same church parking lot. And I bring the comics to that too. So I guess I'm not taking August off. But the literacy lounges are like my thing, and then I show up to other events as I'm able to do them and bring the comics to them. So the main thing is I actually need more books. Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk offline too.
Okay.
I was thinking also of arts and culture. Arts and culture, they have funding. I've had conversations around them about this, and they said, oh, yes, comic books are art as well, which they
I
are.
actually accessed funding. So I work for an organization called In Our Backyards, or IOB for short. We're a crowdfunding platform so think like GoFundMe or Kickstarter, but for community-led, forward-facing, they do good in the community types of projects. And I've fundraised with them 4 times now, and I recently had a literacy lounge fundraiser with them, and I raised $1,700 on that platform. And I've also gotten funding through St. Luke's Foundation, and I received a small grant from Community Solutions as well, all for Comics at the Corner for the purpose of promoting literacy in my neighborhood.
Right, well, I share Mount Pleasant as well with Meredith Turner as well. So good overlap in my district, and I'd love to see you in other parts of my district as well.
Yes, I would love to be able to grow. I would love to be able to take this, show on the road. And we're tempting that, come like September. And part of the reason that the website is so important because I can point people to the site to find dates that we're scheduling. Right now it's like social media and it kind of pops up and you don't necessarily build a community that way.
And Dawn, I'm also struggling to remember where we have interacted.
St.
before.
Timothy Missionary
St.
Baptist
My
Church.
goodness, now I'm embarrassed. I know that's right. That's right. Well, weren't you at the Urban League as well at one
I
time?
used to work at
That's
the
right.
Urban League, yes.
Okay, I remember now. So I think this is a great project. I would like to, again, help you with your capacity. I'd like to make an amendment. I can have the staff do it. And I'd like to add, how much was it, 10,000? I'd like to add a 10,000 as well.
Oh.
Going to make an amendment.
I'm going to add
to our ARPA.
5,000.
As an addicted reader, I'm going to match that 5.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, did you get all our addictions matched?
Yes.
5 from
so
Simon.
Do you want to make that amendment now, or do you want to do it at the council meeting?
Yeah, I can make a motion to amend the legislation in front of us to include additional contributions from ARPA funds. From District 11, it would be 5,000. And let's go down, in Council President's District is 10. And 5 from Councilwoman Stevens for a total of additional 20.
And this is all great, but I think the staff wants to, come on up, Joe. Why don't you come in and help us smooth it all out?
Easier for us to draft the actual
Yeah.
amendments.
Yeah.
So it's properly stated, and at the next council meeting, we can include those.
Okay, but for the record, that's what the amendment will be, and we'll have that at the next council meeting. Okay, thank you.
No, you're fine.
All right,
I can
well,
gather
He's happy
myself.
to take additional funds.
Gladly. Thank you.
okay, great. So I guess this is not amended, but we will move this out of committee. So do I have a motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so this will be at the next council meeting. You heard it's read 3 times, but there'll be an amendment with additional funding, and we really like what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So very much.
Thank you. Okay, so for this, we have one last item before we move on. Geraldine Brooks won the Annisfield Book Award called Horse. No one in this room has read that?
My wife is. My wife's reading it right now.
Your wife is reading it? I just finished it last night. I want to hear her feedback.
She's got it sitting right next to her bed. She's halfway through the book.
I'm going to recommend that to staff. No one's listening, and colleagues. So, next item for the record.
Resolution number 2023-0200, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for the comprehensive case management, employment program, employment education, and training services for young adults.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Cuyahoga Jobs and Family Services. Again, this is an amendment to a master contract for the Summer Youth Employment Program. This program seeks to provide youth with comprehensive, high-quality services that will help them escape poverty by making progress on career pathways to sustainable employment, including attaining and retaining paid employment at good wages, meaningful work experiences, attainment of credentials for in-demand occupations, educational advancements, development of transferable soft skills, critical thinking, and self-advocacy. The target population is TANF-eligible youth between the ages of 14 and 24. Specifically, this amendment will be to add $829,059 to YOU specifically. We have Craig Dorn here, along with Eric Dillenbeck from Youth Opportunities Unlimited, who can speak more to the program part of it, as well as Paul Bounds from the department, who can speak on the program.
Mr. Dorn, Director, do you want to come say anything? This is a continuation of your summer program, I'm assuming.
Well, usually I'm very happy to say something, but it was so inspiring this meeting, I'm a little afraid to come up here and try to follow all of that. Very inspiring meeting. Yeah, the good news, and we really thank the council for consideration of this amendment, is we have been able to serve more youth than we have since 2017, and this additional funding allows us to do that. The summer job program has been more popular than it has in a long time, in the sense that young people are excited to get back now that COVID is more or less behind us. Behind us. And this funding has allowed us to serve several hundred additional youth. Overall, we've been able to use the county funding, which is still the majority of our funding, along with private sector dollars and generous support from the city of Cleveland this year to serve close to 2,000 young people. So those are kind of the headlines. I don't know if there's any other headlines, including we actually want to work with that young lady to be a work site next summer and the comic books. But
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions? Councilman Schron?
Do you have some kind of an event taking place over at Magnet that maybe you might want to invite this body to?
Sure. There are an event on, what's that?
We have dates.
We have dates. I'll let Eric tell the dates so I don't mess them up. But one thing we've been doing more and more with the funding is career academies, including one in partnership with Magnet, and we have an open house to tell you about.
We do have an open house in July 24th or 26th, and we can send dates over for all of you. We'd love for you to come and join us. It's a career academy focused on manufacturing and robotics and the industries surrounding manufacturing. And we have, I forget the numbers off the top of my head, around 10 youth that we've recruited from throughout the county that are at the Magnet building implementing the curriculum that we have designed in partnership with Magnet. They're doing site visits with local manufacturers using the technology at Magnet to build and practice the skills necessary for the manufacturing industry. And it's been very popular, and the kids are having a really good experience.
Thank you. Any questions? All right.
That was just a cheap plug, sorry.
That was good to hear. I want to ask Marcos about the Verge contract. So that's just flat. That's not going to get additional funding, obviously.
No, they're not getting any additional funding.
Okay. And so this is all HHS?
No, this is actually specific.
WIA?
Paul, what is the funding source? All right, Paul has more details of this funding source of this additional dollars. We actually did a similar amendment last year when we were given additional dollars. It was earmarked for YOU, same thing this year, but it's from a specific funding source.
Paul Balance, Job and Family Services. The additional dollars are from the State Office of Family Assistance. They are PRC dollars, Prevention, Retention, Contingency dollars. So every February, at least the past few years, they've made available, I think this year's like $5 million through the various counties in the state for dollars to be used specifically for summer employment programs. So these are TANF funds, but they're typically used for PRC programming.
And we're maximizing those dollars that are
Yes.
available to us.
Yes, because they're earmarked, this particular round of dollars are earmarked specifically for summer employment program.
TANF dollars.
Correct, yes.
Additional.
Mhm, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually written in state code that way, so.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. With that being said, so this is an amendment to a contract that's going to, it's effective 4/1. So do we need to suspend on this? I mean, we're beyond, or no?
Well, I mean, obviously, it would be better if we can get it approved as soon as possible, but we can make it, I mean. if
We'll do
we-
3 readings then. So I'm going to make a motion that this resolution be moved to the next full council meeting for second reading.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's done. Thanks, good seeing you guys from YOU.
Thank you.
No, I don't have any additional business, and that will be the conclusion of our meeting.
I think it's called the measure.